I am here for you. And I'm here for you because I believe there is greatness in you. And I know you feel it, don't you? You feel that there is more. You feel that there is something to do, and there is. And so I am here to teach you how to push that greatness to the surface. How to use one simple tool to find the clarity, to listen to your inner wisdom, and the courage to take action, and the confidence to keep going despite what goes on. Because what I'm about to show you, I'm going to prove it to you, is that you can change anything in 5 seconds. And that fact will change everything about your life. Everything. Now, what I'm about to talk about, this was my secret weapon for a long time. And I never intended on sharing it with anybody because it sounds kind of stupid when you talk about it. Hey, you can change your life in 5 seconds, just count to 5. Yeah, right, Mel. You're trying to sell a book, I know. Seriously, I don't want you to dismiss the power in the ideas that I'm about to share with you because they're so simple. And what's funny is I never intended on talking about this. I never intended on talking about it because I discovered it by mistake. Seriously. About 8 years ago, my life looked totally different than it does today. I was unemployed. My husband had a small business that was failing miserably, and it took our home equity line and the kids' college savings and our 401k plans right down the drain with it. And we had the liens hitting the house. We, of course, were fighting like crazy because, when life blows, what do? You point the finger. You say, oh, it's your fault. Oh, it's my boss's fault. Oh, it's the economy's fault. Oh, this isn't fair. And you know what's interesting about the way that human beings are designed? Have you ever noticed that when you blame somebody else and you point the finger, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at you? It's a big reminder that the power is in you. But waking up every morning unemployed, I certainly didn't feel powerful. You know what I needed? I needed confidence. That was tapped out. I needed courage. Nope, didn't have any of that. When the alarm rang, this is what I felt like doing with the clock. Have you ever had one of those mornings? Right? Where you're like, not today. Nope, not today. I do not want to get out of bed today. I would lie in bed, the alarm would go off, and I would start thinking about the day ahead. And I would start feeling overwhelmed, and I would feel this sense of dread, and I would feel like such a failure. I remember this period of our life, and I remember having those moments where I'd be at the grocery store and the items would be scanning, and I would feel the fear rising up because I didn't know if the check card was going to go through, because I didn't have the courage to look at the bank account. And so as I would lie in bed in the morning, and I would know, by the way, my inner wisdom was there, and your inner wisdom is always there. It's always there kind of nudging you, pushing you, begging you to go forward. My inner wisdom was like, Mel, you need to get up. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't feel like it. I developed this habit of hitting the snooze button over and over and over again every morning. I became one of those parents where the kids were always late. And here's the thing about life. We don't do this. We don't ever kind of wake up in the morning and go, you know what I'm going to do today? Today I'm going to screw up my life. Today I'm going to hit the snooze button 4 times. I'm going to blow off exercise. I'm going to eat that whole tray of donuts. Then I'm going to go to work and snap at people. I'm going to blow off working at my business. I'm going to come home and be mean to my spouse and impatient with my kids. And I'm going to drink a ton. It's going to be amazing, right? We don't do that. What happens is when you're not paying attention, when you're not really focused on what you want, when you're not clear, you make these small decisions all day long that slowly take you off course. Decisions based in self-doubt, decisions based in fear, decisions based in panic, decisions based in resignation. And suddenly you wake up one morning like I did, and you're like, wait a minute, how did I get over there? And more importantly, how do I get over here? We all know we need to change, but change is hard. It's hard when you don't feel confident. It's hard when you don't feel certain. And that's exactly how I felt. And I struggled. And then one night, it's a really stupid story, I saw this rocket launching. And, we're going to talk about this word, courage. Now, when you hear the word courage, you think about the big stuff, don't you? You think about a life or death moment. You think about your heroes. I want you to consider that courage is what you need every day. That there are conversations you have to have that require courage. for me, I needed courage to get out of bed because our problems, they just felt so big. So I struggled and struggled because I knew what to do, but I couldn't make myself do it. Have you ever felt that way? Like so frustrated with yourself? You knew you need to exercise, but you don't do it. You know you need to drink less, but you don't do it. You know you need to stop procrastinating, but you don't do it. You know you need to have the tough conversations, but you don't do it. You're stuck. That's how I was. And then one night I see this rocket launch and I say, oh my gosh, that's it. That's it. I'm going to launch myself out of bed like a rocket ship tomorrow morning. It is going to be amazing. I'm going to move so fast that my mind cannot talk me out of this. Now, it could have been the four Manhattans talking, that gave me that idea because I had a drinking problem. That's one of the things you do. You get emotional. You reach for the booze. Well, for whatever reason, the very next morning I woke up. I still had all the same problems. Liens on the house, talking divorce with my husband of now 20 years, just felt like such a loser. I did not feel like getting up. I will never forget this morning. It was a cold, dark winter morning in February outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And I just did not feel like doing anything different, but I did one thing that changed everything. I started counting backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then all of a sudden I stood up and I was like, what the hell just happened? And the next morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I did it again and it worked. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I did it again and it worked. And I couldn't believe it. And now that I'm almost 50, I still use it at 2:30 in the morning when I wake up and I have to go to the bathroom. And, like instead of trying to go back to bed, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here's what I noticed. I noticed something that when I say this to you, you're going to be like, oh my God, she's right. There is a 5-second window between the moment that your inner wisdom tells you need to speak up, you need to get to the gym, you need to say something, you need to get to work, and your mind killing it. And if you start counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you can close the gap between the greatness in you that's dying to come to the surface and the excuses that keep snuffing it down. Now, I never intended to tell anybody about this. Because I started to use this to get up on time. I started to use it to self-monitor so I didn't snap at Chris, so I stopped drinking so much. I started to use it to go on job interviews, and it literally changed everything because I started to change. I stopped being the kind of person that would think about everything, and I 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 became the kind of person that started acting. And every time I took action, I started to build confidence. Now, I gave this talk a couple years ago about how I'd changed my career so many times. And again, I wasn't going to talk about the 5-second rule because it sounds stupid. And in full disclosure, I didn't know why it worked. And plus, I didn't want you to have it. This was working for me. So why would I want you to have it, right? So at the end of this talk, this was the first speech I had ever given. So if you ever want to see somebody have a 21-minute long panic attack, this is what it looks like. I get off stage and I'm like, oh, I'm never doing that again. And somebody puts the talk online, and something crazy started to happen. People from around the world started to write. And they were all writing about this stupid, simple, very powerful 5-second rule. They were using it to find the courage to reach out to people. They were using it to become number one in sales. They were sharing it with their teams. We know of 13 people that have stopped themselves from committing suicide using this rule. This gentleman was a veteran, and he boarded the ferry with the intention of jumping over. He gets to the railing, and his inner wisdom kicks in. I don't care how low you get. I don't care how high you get. Your inner wisdom is always there. And when you hear it, it is magic. When you listen to it, it changes everything. His inner wisdom said, this is not the answer. He went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he turned and he walked away. We hear from people all over the world, people that are using it to be more productive, to quit smoking after 23 years. License plates, tattoos, for crying out loud. Look, when people start tattooing this thing on their body, like I started to feel a moral obligation to figure out why it worked. So I'm going to tell you some of the science behind this. I'm going to explain how you can use it, and then I'm going to show you how 5-second decisions change everything. So we all hear this, just do it, right? Most famous tagline in the world. What's the difference between just do it and the 5-second rule? This is a concept. Concepts make you go upstairs. I don't want you upstairs. This is behind enemy lines. You're not going to grow your business, grow yourself by thinking. You got to take action. Right before you're about to do anything, even if you're an Olympic athlete, what do? You stop and you think. And that's the kiss of death. Now stop and think if you're going to get a tattoo or sign a contract. But on the little stuff, do not stop and think. Because what happens when your feelings of failure kick in, and they will, you start to think. And that leads you to doubting yourself, doesn't it? And the same thing happens when you feel nervous. Same thing happens when you feel unsure. The same thing happens when you feel like you're a fake. The same thing happens when you feel overwhelmed. Look at all these feelings. They're triggering you to think. That's the last thing you should do. This is what we call a habit loop. Any pattern that you repeat becomes a habit, something you do without even thinking. So how do you break it? You train yourself to take action. You train yourself that the moment you feel nervous, you move. Why? Because when you take action, you actually build confidence. When you feel unsure and you move forward anyway, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you are building the skill of confidence. You are bringing that greatness to the surface. Now look, self-doubt's normal. Feeling overwhelmed is normal. The people we admire the most felt the same way. You ever heard the story of Michelangelo? So in the early 1500s, he had never painted a thing. The Pope goes over to see him in his studio as he's carving a statue, and the Pope, Julius II, turns to Michelangelo and says, "Hey, Michelangelo, I got some frescoes I want you to paint in Vatican City." You know what Michelangelo felt? Totally unsure. Do you know what he did? He left town. He hid from the Pope for 2 years. That's how unsure he was. You know what the Pope did? He stalked him for 2 years, pushed him until he actually painted those frescoes. How about a more recent one? How many of you heard of Hamilton? Yeah, Hamilton, hit musical. Guess what? 3.5 years ago, it wasn't even finished. Lin-Manuel, the guy that wrote it, was busy messaging with his wife, Vanessa. What was he saying? He was saying something you and I can relate to. When it doesn't happen as fast as I'd like it to, I have a hard time finding the balance between not beating myself up and not wasting time. Can't you relate to that? She's like, you're not unique, dude. We all struggle with this. We all need the encouragement and the push. You know, in this photo makes me sad because when I think about this kid, right, he's standing there, the longer he looks, the more he thinks about it, the less likely he's going. Imagine the difference that a push makes. Imagine a coach behind him, right? Right? A coach going, "Come on, Sammy, you got this, buddy, you got this," or an older brother. The problem is in life, usually there's nobody there to push you. It's up to you. That's why the 5-second rule is your new best friend. This is what you're going to use to push yourself. The moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you know you should do something, but you don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't care, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You don't feel like being nice to your spouse. I don't care, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Use this for behaviors that you need to do, and for those things that are emotional, that are killing you, drinking too much, eating a bunch of garbage, smoking, gambling, addiction. When you feel the emotion drawing you towards it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, physically move away from it. What is this actually doing in your mind when you count backwards? It's pretty remarkable how such a simple thing does something extraordinary. When you start counting backwards, it is an action. When you start counting backwards, it requires focus. When you start counting backwards, you are manually switching the part of the brain that you're using. You're activating your prefrontal cortex. You're interrupting the habit loops of self-doubt, of procrastination, of fear, of anxiety. And you are taking control, one 5-second decision at a time. It truly is that simple. I didn't say it was easy, but it is this simple. And it's not going to be easy because you're going to fight yourself. Now, there are 3 ways that you can use this. We've heard of literally hundreds of thousands of ways. We've heard of from hundreds of thousands of people in 90 different countries that are using this rule. And they fall into kind of 3 buckets. You can use this rule to change any behavior. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself to do something that you know you need to do. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pull yourself away from something that you know you should not be doing. You can use it for courage. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, step into that risk. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself outside your comfort zone. And the most important way you can use it is you can use it for mind control. This one matters the most to me So let me explain to you how to use it. So a lot of people see me on stage or on CNN and they're like, ooh, that chick was just born very confident, very annoying. And I know you laugh because it's true. Not true. I suffered from panic attacks for over 20 years. They started when I was 19 years old. They got so bad that I was on Zoloft. It was a miracle drug for me. And as I started to use the 5-second rule to literally, change everything, to go from facing bankruptcy to running multi-million-dollar companies, joining the teams at CNN, being a contributor to Dr. Oz and Success, changing my marriage and how I behaved, changing my health habits, changing everything. Because what the rule does is it gives you control over your decisions. It gives you control over those 5-second moments that change everything for you, because in those 5-second moments, it's where all the opportunity and the joy in your life is. So I wondered about 5 years ago, I wonder if you could use this simple, stupid, brilliant rule to cure yourself of anxiety. The answer is yes, you can. So I've been off meds for 5 years. I haven't had a panic attack since. Hell, I don't even worry about anything. Yes. Because I have used this rule to completely rewire how I think. You're going to hear a lot about mindset today. You want to adopt a growth mindset, you want to change your habits, this is a starting ritual that you can use for any of them. Let me explain how you do it in the mental game. So, have you ever noticed how your thoughts drift, right? You're sitting in a meeting and suddenly your thoughts are like blah, 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 garbage, 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 you suck, 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 right? Whatever it is. The second that you get your thoughts drifting, you're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and yank them back here. Now, the counting backwards is essential. It doesn't work to just try to change your thoughts. Inserting the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 interrupts the pattern of bad talk to yourself and self-doubt and anxiety. It awakens your prefrontal cortex so your brain is ready to receive a new thought. I'm going to use an example that we can all relate to explain specifically how to do this, because I think this is so important. I used to be a nutcase about flying. I would get to the airport and I'd be in the boarding area and I'd be looking for Bishop T.D. Jakes, and I'd be looking for babies and men and women in uniform, because I would say, if they're getting on my plane, God is not letting this go down. So then I'd get on the plane and I would buckle up, and then I'd start to feel the panic rising. And as soon as we take off and the plane does that scary thing where you get up and then all of a sudden it feels like it's like turning off as it's leveling off, then I would start to panic and I would pull out my phone and I would start texting my children, Mommy loves you, emoji, emoji, emoji. Because if I'm going to die in a plane crash, I want the kids to know that my last act as a human being was to be the best mom on the planet. And then plus they've got it for the eulogy when they do the PowerPoint so they can prove it to everybody. And you giggle. You giggle because we're sick human beings. We're all sick, right? If we were to put a speaker on your head and broadcast the garbage you say to yourself, you wouldn't be at Success Live. You'd be in an insane asylum, for crying out loud. But here's the problem. We listen to it. We listen to it. You let it rob you of your precious lifetime. You let it keep you from stepping into your greatness. You let it stop you from saying what you really believe. You don't have to. The second you catch yourself thinking anything that doesn't serve you, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take control. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, insert a different thought. Every time I talk about this, when I fly, I step on the plane with an anchor thought. I think about where I'm going to go. When I flew here, you know what I thought about? I thought about you. So every time the turbulence happened, I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I thought about you. And my brain went, oh, she's not nervous about the plane. She is so excited to see everybody at Success Live. This makes sense. One of you, many of you, are going to text me right after this and be like, I can't believe this, Mel. I used that stupid, simple thing you just talked about, and this is the first time I've ever been able to get on a plane. You can change how you think 5 seconds at a time. Do not ever underestimate your power to change the things that matter most to you. This is one of the most shared stories in the history of social media. A lot of you are going to recognize this. This is Brittany and her dad, Todd. Now, what you can't tell from this story is that it's been a horrible decade for this family. You see, Brittany's dad and her mom got divorced, and it's been an ugly divorce. A lot of fighting, and the new spouses can't stand each other. Well, today's Brittany's wedding day, and Todd is walking his new wife up the aisle, and he has this inner wisdom kick in. And he says to himself, today I'm going to heal this family. Doesn't stop and think. He turns, he walks back down the aisle, and instead of grabbing his daughter, he grabs her stepfather, a man he hates. I mean, look at the expression on the lady next to them, for crying out loud. And he invites him to walk their daughter down the aisle. 5 seconds changes everything. And I can tell you firsthand, because we interviewed this family for CNN, it certainly changed this one. So whether you are going to use the rule to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of your head and start that nonprofit you've been thinking about for 2 decades, or you're just going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get yourself out of bed because you said you would, or you find yourself in one of the darkest places of your life, like Adam did. So on March 1st, Adam was over in London. He's a lawyer over there, and he was sitting with a bottle of pills, and he was 3 pills in, and his inner wisdom kicked in. He knew that this was not the answer, and he also knew the 5-second rule. And he went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he got up, and he got in his car, and he drove to his doctor's office, and he had the courage to listen. He had the clarity to seek help. And he's been using it ever since. And it's like he has a friend with him. And he uses it to not interrupt judges when he gets mad. And as he writes to us, he says it's not only literally saved his life, but he's actually doing pretty good. And I'd like to introduce you to him because he's flown here. Come on up. I am so proud of you. Don't ever doubt your ability to change your life. To change your life. You know you have power in you, and now you know. Thank you. It is a privilege to share this with you. Thank you. Please, please, please use it, and please let me know how you use it. Seriously, it is such a, I feel like I'm just a messenger for something that's making a difference for people everywhere. So thank you for the opportunity to share this with you.